Hi, and welcome to another edition of Talk with Confidence. This is where we have inspirational conversations with inspirational people. Today, I have a truly inspiring person in studio with us. His name is Thabiso Ramadiba. We've just spoken about his surname of Ramadiba means many wells, and wells depict depth, depict wisdom, and I believe you're going to get a lot of wisdom from this young man today. Thabiso, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, thank you for honoring the invite, my brother. Yeah, can we start at the beginning or just rewind a little bit? Who is Thabiso? Where were you born? What was your upbringing like?
I'm Thabiso Ramadiba from Seshego.
Seshego, wow.
Yes.
Wonderful. There's a lot of talented people coming out of Seshego. I mean, we've got Dr. Tumi, and then now we've got Thabiso.
Yeah. He actually raised me.
Is it?
Yeah.
Are you familiar with him?
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful, man.
He's a family friend.
Oh, wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful.
We're from the same church.
Oh, wonderful. And how was it growing up in Seshego?
It was, I can say it was okay because of what I was exposed to then. You know, you can't look at your upbringing and think that there was something which you were supposed to experience which you didn't experience because of the exposure and the opportunities that were there then.
Yeah.
You see, but it was a good upbringing.
What were some of the things that you were exposed to in terms of your upbringing? So when describe a typical day in a young Thabiso's life in Seshego.
Maybe let me reflect to the type of family I was brought up
Yes.
in. I think that would give us a big picture.
Yeah.
I come from a Christian family where I was raised by my mom, and most of the things she was teaching me was relating to God's principles. And above everything else was I needed to be a giver because she was a giver. So my upbringing was mostly based on that, based on her trying to raise a man that would reflect some of those principles Jesus upheld, you know.
Wonderful.
And I believe that literally sums up my upbringing because it was about church, you know.
But you know what that does is it gives you a solid foundation, because whatever you build, you need to have a solid foundation, and that is definitely deep foundations. And I mean, today you are the CEO and co-founder of Path Toward Connect, PS Connect for short.
Yeah.
And I believe that foundation has also helped you to build what you are building today. Am I correct?
I can say so, but you know, it's funny how you go through certain things and you actually don't realize the destination and how everything actually comes together to actually prepare you for your destination. You know, they would teach us we need to have an impact in people's lives, and when you're young, you don't fully understand it until you create PS Connect.
Yeah, and going into PS Connect, I was reading up on you guys' business and very inspirational, man, the work that you're doing. But can you, for the listeners, can you just go into PS Connect? How did PS Connect begin? Who is your partner in the business, and how is the business going?
Yeah, so in 2010, when we were completing our degrees, I was with my partner Nathan. We were speaking about the challenges we actually faced when we were transitioning from high school into your tertiary institution.
Yes.
I come from a technical background, so all I knew about careers was technical careers, you know, and I had...
Give us an example. What do you mean by technical careers?
Yeah, I only knew engineering, you know, and I wanted to be an architect, you know. I was extremely good in drawing. So I thought that's where lies my passion. I was creative. Then after grade 12, when I actually applied to some of the universities, I came to Johannesburg to apply. I got rejected, you know. And being a young being a young guy, not being exposed to other opportunities, what then I decided is, you know what, let me go into a learnership. I took a building learnership for a year to discover what other fields I can actually go into. Then I was exposed to civil. Then I decided, you know what, let me go into civil. Maybe I'll get to draw because
you wanted to draw?
I wanted to.
I just want to draw.
I just want to draw. I want to be creative. You know, I was very passionate in drawing buildings and stuff like that. Then I did civil for 3 years, and I realized that there's not much drawing.
When do we draw?
When do we draw? I mean, we're drawing roads, we're drawing pipelines.
This is not it.
This is not it.
Yeah.
But at that time, fortunately, I got now exposed to IT.
Yes.
And I realized that IT allows me to do exactly what I want. I can be creative.
Yes.
I can create systems. And which drawing, that's what it was. And at that time, I couldn't actually interpret that gift.
Yes.
You know. Then that's when we started speaking about those challenges. Then we decided, you know what, let's create Peers Connect. That will help young people to transition from high school into your post-school education.
Yes.
That's also helping them identify careers, apply to different institutions, whether it's universities, it's colleges or TVET colleges. It also helps them get funding, apply for bursaries, scholarships. Then for those who are not interested in your structural education, we help them now apply to learnerships.
I mean, the business that you're in, I imagine you go into a lot of communities, townships, and you do workshops with young or high school level kids. What are some of the challenges that they are facing, the common challenges that they are facing with regards to choosing a career? What are some of the potholes or the hurdles that they have to overcome in order to get to a point where they are studying, they are graduating, they are getting into jobs?
It goes down to two things, exposure and access. When you look at the different types of schools that we interact with schools from quintile 1 all the way to quintile 5. And most of the schools in quintile 1 and 2, these are disadvantaged schools, you know. They're not exposed. Every learner that you interact with, you can literally guess the career they're interested in, you know, because they're only exposed to 5 and most 10. You interact with their teachers, they're only exposed to 10. You interact with their parents, they're only exposed to 10. So you can just imagine their choice will only be based around 10. And in PS Connect, we've got over 1,700 careers.
Wow.
And the most interesting thing about careers is they change all the time.
With changing technology, changing societies, changing economies, there needs to be, there may be 10 new careers tomorrow created because somebody has created a new technology, for example.
Yes, and that's how, and that's the reason why we actually went the technology route, because we've realized that, I mean, there was no social media manager 10 years ago, 5 years ago.
True.
Now there is such a career. So we keep abreast of all the careers and then how the market shifts. And that's why most of the students we interact with, we always tell them that, you know what, look at two of what you are interested in, two things you are interested in. You find out that we've got students who are interested in accounting, in law. Then we tell them that match the two, go into corporate law. You can specialize in technology.
Specialization, yes.
You know, so those are the things that now looking at careers, we try advise and guide learners to use to be dynamic in approaching their careers.
I mean, there are a lot of challenges in terms of youth unemployment. You find graduates sitting at home. And I mean, when you go into specialization, I guess that curbs that quite a bit, because you may find those who have qualifications but they're sitting at home. There are a million people with that same qualification. But once you start going into specialization and going even from just a degree and doing your honors or even your masters, you find your niche. In a sense, is that something that you advise your clients, your customers, the students that you interact with to do?
At a certain point, our approach is mainly on self-discovery. Because our system is used by learners from grade 7 all the way to grade 12. But during these grades, we want them to understand more about themselves, so that when the time comes where they have to specialize, you actually know what you are interested in. Now, we fast forward, we look at now a student who is now who have graduated. Our advice will still be the same, to say, go into the market, get to see what the job market offers, and especially in terms of your qualification. Thereafter, you'll be able to identify that niche in the market. But because we are still developing the system, in the near future, we'll be able to now guide tertiary students in preparation to the workplace. Then we'll be able to also guide them to identify those gaps.
Wonderful. I love the name of your company, by the way, Paths Toward Connect. It's got depth, it's got meaning, you know. And I mean, you connect high school learners to tertiary institutions, but you touched on something that I want us to go into. Are you doing anything in the space of connecting tertiary institutions or graduates of tertiary institutions to jobs or to companies and organizations? Is that a path that you go that far, or are you mainly right now focused on connecting the learners to the institutions?
Okay, so because we've been doing this for 8 years, most of those years, 7 years, we were self-funding the company. You can just imagine, we graduated, never worked for anyone. We decided, you know what, let's pursue this dream.
Wow. Nice.
And then we went into a research phase where we got to understand now the education system as a whole. Then when we understood everything, we had a plan, we had a picture. So Peers Connect is just one puzzle of the picture.
Okay.
So we had to say, okay, this is what we want to build. Where do we start? Looking at our capacity, looking at what we are exposed to. Then we started with Peers Connect. We're going to build it in phases. There are a lot of phases coming.
The vision is big.
The vision, the vision is big. Peers Connect currently focus on getting students from high school into your tertiary institutions. In a year or so, we'll be now going into another phase where we'll be concentrating on getting them from tertiary institution into the market.
Wonderful, beautiful.
And
beautiful.
there it's gonna, we're going to incorporate things like talent management and certain complicated things.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. That's so inspiring, because a lot of institutions, you know, concentrate on just one part, and it's beautiful to have a niche. But with something like what you're doing, I believe there needs to be a holistic picture, because I mean, like you're saying, it's the low-hanging fruit is phase one, connecting the learners to the institutions.
Yes.
But then what next in the journey? What I love about the picture that you painted is that now the journey is holistic. We're taking you from A to Z. We're not just taking you from A up to E or F or G, you know.
Yes.
You're taking them throughout the journey. And I mean, with that, are there any partners that you currently have on board? Because I imagine you need to have partnerships with the institutions, the tertiary institutions, partnerships with the private sector, organizations in different fields. Have you gone into those partnerships, or do you envision going into those types of partnerships?
No, we every day, I mean, we engaging the institutions. We have most of the institutions as our working partners.
Wonderful.
Both universities, colleges, and TVET colleges.
Awesome.
We have private corporates where they offer bursaries and things like that, which are coming on board.
Wow,
so we're
awesome.
always growing
Awesome.
our database in terms of our partnerships.
Beautiful.
Because the public sector and the private sector can address these challenges that learners are faced with, and coming together, because currently they're working separately and there's no synergy between the two. So we come and we come and have positioned ourselves in a position where we bring the two together.
Yes. Wonderful.
And facilitate the processes.
Wonderful. I mean, I'm really inspired because, from a personal point of view, youth empowerment is something that I'm also quite passionate about, and what you're bringing is a very practical element to bringing that empowerment to life. From a business journey point of view. I mean, there's a stat, I don't know if it's correct, they said something like 1 in 10 businesses or 9 in 10 businesses fail in the first 2 or 3 years. I need to research this stat, but something like that. And you guys have been going for 8 years now.
For 8 years.
What has sustained you? What has stopped you from becoming part of those negative statistics?
The truth is, it all happens in the mind. We have this saying that without ambition, you start nothing, and without hard work, you achieve nothing. So it has been driving us. I mean, I remember we were trying to patent the idea while we were completing our degrees. We went to this attorneys in Senton. Just graduated, they gave us a bill. 50,000.
Wow.
To
patent the idea.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you can just imagine you just graduated. 50,000 sounds like 5 million,
Yeah.
But that was our turning point, because that day we decided that any obstacle that we face, it's either we're going to jump it or we're just gonna go around.
And what did you go around that one, or did you jump it?
We went around because we went around that one, not realizing that we're going to be now faced with even a bigger one. Because the development of the system back then in 2011 was 1.2 million to develop what we have. Yet again, that one you can't even jump on, But it was an amazing journey.
Yeah.
As long as you've got the will and the belief that this is where you're going, there is always a way.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I love that.
So we went through that. You can just imagine young black guys self-funding this thing. We had to find things to do on the side,
to build the capital.
Yeah, to build up the capital. I mean, if a person wants a website, wants a system, we quickly develop it, get paid, bring the money in. We had to do.
You made a plan.
We had to make a plan. We engaged so many financial institutions for them to help us. I mean, you've got this idea which you believe it's going to help people, and you're thinking that when you approach organization, they'll jump on board to
They'll
help.
see the vision and say, we want to be part of it.
And it's not like that. You had to push. We had to push. It's only in 2017 we met another prominent business partner, which he's now our business partner. He came on board and he said, you know what, I'm passionate about helping the youth, and you've got what you guys are doing. It speaks to those principles, and he came on board. Then he started now helping us with the funding.
Wonderful. What I'm getting from that is, you don't need to chase the money, you need to chase the purpose.
Yeah.
Because what you're doing is very purpose driven. It's not about we want to become millionaires. It's about we want to help youth have a smooth transition from high school into tertiary, and then from tertiary into the job environment. And that speaks purpose. What would you say to young entrepreneurs who have a vision, but they are seeing the obstacles, they're seeing the 50,000 demand is right in front of them? What would you say to encourage them? To say, we were there, but this is where we are. What advice would you give to those young entrepreneurs?
My advice would be, I think that the biggest investment we've ever done, both me and my partner, was building ourselves. We need to look at the limitations of our environment. I mean, I come from Kasi. You can just imagine what I was exposed to. So there needed to be a whole lot of paradigm shifts, how I saw the world, how I interpreted things, and building up my confidence and my vision to say, you know what, sky is the limit.
I love it.
So for entrepreneurs, they first need to see themselves there. Because the truth is, if there's an obstacle and your mind is not beyond that obstacle, I don't have an advice for you, because you're going to struggle to surpass that obstacle. But if your mindset is beyond that, then you can just imagine there's no pothole, there's no hurdle that you won't be able to surpass, because your mentality is beyond that. And that's one of the messages we always preach when we out there, to say, you know what, we need to bring up a different youth. The psyche of our youth it's not in a good position, based on they're driven by media, they're driven by music videos and stuff like that. You can just imagine where their mind is at. So we need to first change their psyche. Then I believe we would have now better emerging entrepreneurs coming.
Mr. Ramadiba, indeed you are well. Thank you so much for gracing us. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. I'm inspired. I believe you've been inspired. That was Mr. Thabiso Ramadiba, CEO and co-founder of PS Connect. You've been watching Talk with Confidence with myself, Confidence Ep. Do tune in next time right here on Global Conference Television. Thank you.